Well, that was extremely painful to watch. Please kill me.
What are your last words?
Yeah, I shot first, bitch.
You finally learned. I was gonna kill you first. Be emotional over me. Be emotional for the person who was trying to kill.
Yeah. So we just got out of Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah, and I wanted to. First 10 minutes into the movie, I wanted to call it Uno, because you know how Han got his last name? Some asshole who was trying to, process him to enlist him in the Imperial Guard, or whatever the hell, Imperial something to become the best pilot ever.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say it straight up. This is probably my least favorite Star Wars movie to date.
Well, wouldn't that surprise me at all?
Okay. You might think that before that it was probably The Last Jedi, right? Well, no, not quite. You see, for as much as a dumpster fire, in terms of writing, that The Last Jedi was, at least it didn't spend the majority of the movie reminding me of the much better Star Wars movies. It still couldn't help itself in places. There were plenty of things that try to invoke memories. I mean, the final battle is basically the battle on Hoth, and there's other plot elements here and there, other character references and little winks and nods. But still, for the most part, it at least was just a movie on its own. It had enough of its own identity. Force Awakens did not. Force Awakens was just A New Hope
2.0.
Yeah. Done worse in just about every possible way. And that's why that remained my least favorite one to date. Because even the Star Wars prequels, for as bad as they are, all have their own identity to them. Like, they still recognize them as their own movies. They are not just taking the best parts of the previous Star Wars movies and just doing them again. That's all Force Awakens did, and that's all this fucking movie did.
Yeah. And well, just to address a bit about the prequels, I'm one of the few people who actually legitimately likes all three of them. Other people who are diehard fans can have a problem with the prequels based off of the original trilogy and how good that was. But that was what raised me into the liking of Star Wars. It came out during our time, essentially. But yeah, you were able to look at a single movie and look at like maybe a 5-minute or even 10-minute bit, and you could tell which movie that would be from the prequels. The prequels do have problems, absolutely, but at least they're problems that directly coincide with the movie in itself, as opposed to trying to relate to other. Well, okay, they do have to relate to the other source material of the original movies, but it didn't actively try and make you. Well, that's a whole different scenario for another day. I.e., you actually were able to recognize and were able to directly pinpoint that this is the new aura of Star Wars. With Solo, it was nothing. This was basically a nothing movie that only relied on nostalgia and didn't necessarily it didn't even give you new characters. Okay, the reain that I don't hate Force Awakens as much as... Oh.
It does give you new characters, but they all suck.
Pretty much, and, well, what I was getting at a minute ago is that even though I don't hate Force Awakens as much as you do, I actually enjoyed it I partly enjoyed it when I first watched it, but I liked it better when I watched it again, knowing everything that I knew from the first watch, but just sat back and had fun with it. That was a movie where, that was a Star Wars movie where you could just, for me at least, turn your brain off and just watch some cool stuff, see some people do some stuff. That is what this movie wanted to be. Solo just wanted to be the characters that you've seen before, add in a couple new ones, and just have them walk around doing shit. But the problem with sometimes though those premises can work. where you just have a set of characters and observe their misadventures.
Obviously, though, that relies heavily on the likeness of the characters, or at least how well the characters are written and portrayed. Obviously, this movie was going to fight an uphill battle with trying to bring Solo back because
A famous character that we already know.
right, but not only that. I mean, it's Harrison. I mean, practically is Harrison Ford. It's not you. No matter who they found to try and play him, it was never going to be as good as the original. But you could try if you were the least bit clever about this, you could try and play up to that aspect to be like, no, this isn't the Han Solo that you guys know. This is someone completely different.
This is the newer and better Han Solo because he's younger and hotter. Look at his wavy hair. Look at his never-ending sneer.
Well, rather you just what would have been nice in this movie is if he wasn't born the Han Solo that we know from the original Star Wars movies, but you see it slowly develop, slowly become that character.
Have him be molded.
Yes.
Like a clay sculpture. See how every curve and aspect and visual portrayal as well as the inner struggle of this iconic person is shown and displayed to us. Nope. He was on some shit planet with shit circumstances, and him and his supposed girlfriend try and get out of the shit, but he's the only one that gets out of the shit. And yeah, he spends forever trying to get back in the shit.
I mean, what little we knew about Han Solo's backstory was that, at least the concrete details we knew, is that he did work for the Empire, and for whatever reason he left. It probably had something to do with Chewbacca, where he likely saw the treatment of the Wookiees and felt bad. Something we don't know exactly. We just know that something clicked in his head and he realized the Empire's bad. I want out, and that's when he became an outlaw, or joined up with the rebels. That
smuggler-esque activities.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, that could be a genuinely interesting backstory, and it's something where you don't have to rely on trying to have the best Harrison Ford impression out there. It just be, it could be somebody who is like, this isn't the Han Solo that I know, and it's like, yeah, that's the point. He's not that person yet. We're trying to explain how he got there. And if this movie had some balls to show like one of our favorite heroes from the movie actually start off as a bad guy, that'd be interesting. But they don't. They take the general gist of it and they make it stupid. They make it simple. They make it rushed, extremely rushed, and just it's very clear this is not in any way the most interesting part of this character's story or life, but they're trying to pretend like it is anyway, or at least they're trying to be like, yeah, don't you? It's like, this is the Han Solo you all know and love.
It's telling you that it's big instead of feeling like it's big,
right?
Because my biggest gripe with this movie is that it's just a nothing movie. There's no character to the character of Han Solo. And well, okay, sort of an uphill battle for me going into this was, I don't think I've ever told you this, but like Han Solo, he wasn't really one of the heavy hitting characters for me, even in the original trilogy.
Oh, really?
I just thought he was the cool guy who you knew was a badass and could say some one liners once in a while. I do understand why people love him though.
I mean, it's not by no means an unpopular opinion, but Han Solo was my favorite character of the Star Wars franchise.
Okay. I don't care if Luke gets whiny.
I wouldn't. No, Luke is not whiny. They go to the one fucking line in the beginning of A New Hope, and say, "Oh, that's his entire character." fuck,
I love Luke. I love Luke the best.
I really like Luke too. Let me make that clear. I do really like Luke, and I think the criticisms towards him of him being whiny is just stupid. But
petty, if you will.
yes, but Han. I always think back to Han. I always think he has the coolest moments. I always think that he has it's also the mystique behind him, that mysterious backstory of, wait, you used to work for the Empire. That kind of added to it, because of course, obviously, it's not entirely explained, but it's there, and it plays into it. It plays into it a little bit more. Can I say just one more thing?
Go for it.
Okay. What is an unpopular opinion for me is that A New Hope was my favorite Star Wars movie. So that's why Force Awakens being just kind of a very cheap knockoff of it.
I dare not argue cheap. I would dare say a knockoff.
In terms of writing, it's cheap. I know in terms of production, in terms of effects, it's not cheap, but if
you want to talk about cheap writing,
yeah, that's why that stood out to me, and because Han Solo is my favorite character in the Star Wars franchise, seeing him reduced to such lows in this movie is really frustrating.
Well, should we get into why there are such lows in this?
Yeah, sure.
So, look, if you can't tell from the trailers, the plot for this is that it's trying to give one of the big events of Han Solo's backstory, and just trying to give him a basis for what he is, why he is, and how he is. Luckily, none of those are answered, because the real story of it is that Han joins the army, loses a girl, joins the army, finds a couple of thieves, which somehow
within the army.
How did he know? Did they show us at some point, or did he just guess?
He said that it's like that armor was taken off a dead guy, which obviously means you guys are thieves.
Or it could just be their soldiers trying to survive. Like, what? Okay, so he finds
There's a lot of bullshit coincidences in this movie.
Yeah, Han finds a couple of thieves, tries to join them on a job, but somehow meets Chewie, who is a prisoner used as a means of torture for disobedient soldiers. They get to a job, they try stealing some shit. Jesus Christ, I even forgot this.
He becomes what is essentially a thief / smuggler, like he was in the original trilogy, or at least what he started off as. Not really explaining too much how he got there, other than just that, hey, I'm a really good pilot. How are you a really good pilot?
They don't show us!
Just that he is. He is because he is. Because he's Han Solo, damn it.
That's okay. Yeah, you sort of get the gist of what we're trying to make. They don't go out of their way to actually show anything about Han Solo. They just tell you what Han Solo is and what you already know of Han Solo, and expect that to be enough material for you to be able to identify with this character. But since they don't add anything to him, and since the direction for this, well, we'll get to that later, the direction for this actor, I can't even remember his name for Solo, just do an impression. Just do an impression of him, try and act smarky, smirmy, whatever you can think of.
They turn him into a really annoying twat. And I hate to say this too, because I'm sure most people, it's like, you have to bring up Marvel movies again. I'm being completely serious. He's Star-Lord. He's like doing a Chris Pratt impression.
I would not disagree with that, even though I still haven't fully seen Guardians.
Well, remember Chris Pratt from Jurassic World?
Yes.
Okay, think of it. It's very similar to that.
Understandably so. Although, luckily he's Minnesotan, so he's got that with us.
Well,
anyway,
I'm not saying Chris Pratt himself is necessarily bad, but it doesn't fit this Han Solo persona, because he is so goddamn annoying in this movie.
I didn't think he was annoying. I thought he was boring.
Okay.
I thought he was just boring because, again, he didn't have any character to him. So how can I identify with just this person who's trying to play this person? I was not able to see this guy as Solo. He looks like Solo. Sometimes he talks like Solo, but he's not Han. he doesn't have any of the mannerisms or the personality or any of the charm.
Think of what a smooth badass. Just think of the one bit from A New Hope, the best bit, the one everyone remembers was when he shoots Greedo, you know, and at the end he just walks up away, throws a coin at the bartender, and he's like, sorry about the mess. And it's like, that's awesome. Nothing like that happens in this movie. Nothing even close. Where you could be a badass, where he could, you know, show, you know, some of the cooler moments is where it's quiet, but this fucker never shuts up. Constantly making jokes, making quips. It's trying to be as silly as possible, but never. Oh God, it misses the mark completely. If you're trying to be like Han Solo, you fucking failed.
Pretty much. And look, even though, okay, you said this was a production nightmare.
It was. There was a lot of reshoots. They had to bring in a new director,
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
Who's that? What? He would be boy contender, but he's an Oscar winner.
Yeah. So he, I mean, obviously they probably had to stitch together a lot of nonsense to make this thing work, just to get something out there.
Shoestring edits.
Yeah.
That probably feels like why there's so many random bad jump cuts in this. Like there's parts
I wouldn't say jump cuts, but jumpy, as in like we just keep going from place to place, and there's not.
Keep going from place to place, but for a handful of the scenes, there's no payoff.
Right.
There's not even any payoff for any of the gags or situations that happen.
Other than to invoke nostalgia, because they do that a lot. If I could, God damn it, if I could make just one thing about these movies go away completely and never come back, it wouldn't be the comedy, it wouldn't be the piss poor character design, it would be all the fucking references to the previous Star Wars movies. God damn it, stop it! Hey, remember this bit from Return of the Jedi?
I remember.
Let's do it again.
Okay.
Hey, remember this cool bit from Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, I remember.
Let's do it again.
Okay.
Hey, remember the only good part of Phantom Menace? Well, let's do it again. Fuck. Really? Just. I said that's why Force Awakens was my least favorite, and now this one even more so.
Okay, so I know the references that come from the lines that, well, obviously, Han Solo said this, so he has to say this in the new one.
I'm willing to bet 70% of his dialogue was ripped from the old movies.
Yeah, but like what other visual references did they have?
Okay, so you remember in Return of the Jedi, Jabba's like floating bar ship?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's in this movie. Oh. Remember in A New Hope where Chewie's having a chess match with R2-D2 and he's losing? Well, that's in this movie too.
Except this one has monsters. Or were they using monsters?
Well, no, yeah, they were using monsters in the first one too.
Oh, that makes it worse.
And you remember all the funny quips that Lando had in Return of the Jedi? Well, let's do it again. Hey, remember the bits where your supposed best friend betrays you? Yeah, we're gonna do that again for this.
I betray you. I betray you. You betray me. I betray you.
Just like in Last Jedi, because we just can't do that enough times.
I thought it was Empire Strikes Back where the double crossing kicked in.
Oh wait, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
You lose your nerd card. You didn't get a fact right.
There's a few others too. You remember what Lando was wearing in Return of the Jedi on Jabba's ship? It's like that shows up in this movie.
Except Woody Harrelson wears it.
Yeah. Although and there's even more on top of that. There's so many you could play bingo with it.
It does distract after a while, but it's not the good distraction where it's trying to intrigue your interest from the other problems of the movie. The other problems are still incredibly present. Again, the story moves especially in the beginning. The first third or half of this, yeah. They just go everywhere. They bounce around completely. They skip over 3 years entirely when Han was in the Imperial Army, but they didn't bother to show anything from it.
That really should have been the core of this story, but it's not.
That should have been the first half.
Yes.
the whole first half, and then somehow meet Chewie after that, and then try and have him do some other side quest that didn't involve like the smugglers of the like highest crime syndicate or something.
Right, it's just and yeah, everything in this movie, everything that's important about Han Solo and what would you think would be interesting to take time to develop, they just do like they practically skip over because like let's get to the good stuff. What the fuck are you doing? Just like when he meets Chewie in a scene that highly, is supposed to invoke memories of when Jabba puts Luke in the pit with the, what's it called? The Rancor?
Yes.
Okay, it's supposed to invoke memories of that, and you see, you hear footsteps, monster coming out, raw, and it's Chewie.
It's only a 7-foot hairy guy.
Yeah, it's Chewie, and they're chained together, and they're having a pull apart thing, and then of course they have to make it stupid, where it's like he goes, it's like, you speak Wookiee?
Han speaks Wookiee.
I mean, that makes sense that he speaks Wookiee, but they didn't have to do it so fucking stupid.
They don't show how he knows it.
Just that he does, because he's Han Solo. What more do you need to know? Fuck, and they are friends instantly.
Well, after he just says, "Oh, I speak your language." Okay. Yeah. So any foreign person who hates America on the other side, apparently all they would need for us to be friends with them is if we spoke their language.
I mean, it would help.
Realistic, right?
It would help, but it wouldn't immediately turn it into, you're my best friend now.
But yeah, ultimately Han and Chewie end up going for like this huge score that's thought to be, it's unattainable.
Unobtainium from Avatar. No, it's not. It's some kind of unstable rocket fuel.
Coaxium they call it.
Yeah, it's what helps you go into hyperspace.
And they literally just generalize it in the beginning. It's super fuel. That's all it is.
Hyperfuel.
Super fuel. I'm trademarking it.
Yeah.
Give me money, Disney.
But yeah, there is not a moment in this movie that piques my interest. There's not a moment that makes me laugh. Honestly, the most enjoyment I had out of this movie was a singular cameo that was rather understated, but it was you remember what is his name? I forget.
Warwick Davis.
Yep, the guy who played the lead teddy bear in Return of the Jedi. He's in this movie as one of the rebellion pirates.
They call them marauders, but basically they're just the sub-smugglers. There's so many smugglers in this movie, it's ridiculous.
Must be on the wrong side of the galaxy.
No.
But yeah, it just fails in every aspect. It doesn't I mean, it goes at your nostalgia so cheaply that it's kind of pathetic. It doesn't, and in the most important part of like thinking, oh yeah, I get to see Han Solo again, it doesn't do that because they turn him into an annoying twat.
And they don't. But again, my biggest problem: they don't give him any substance.
They don't.
This is a character that you'd be writhing for substance for. It'd be so easy to make substance for him.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is come up with this troubled youth who's led into the Imperial forces, but this is actually the transformation that should have been Finn from Force Awakens.
Yeah, Finn was heavily inspired by Han Solo in that regard, in terms of his story at least, of how yes he was for the Empire and then he wanted to leave. Maybe they would have thought, that's too derivative, so let's just, skip over that. No, it's as creative as you guys make it, but you don't put forth any fucking effort.
So with them not being able to hit the most important point, everything else falls apart. You basically take out the bottom block of a Jenga tower.
Yeah. Because
when you can't identify or see the lead character as the lead character from this famous lead character, like even if you don't know what Star Wars is, you know who Han Solo is.
Probably, or at least you've seen him. You've seen his face somewhere.
Exactly. there's so many different, like, there's different interpretations of him and what he, like, stands for, I guess. But again, they don't take advantage of that at all in this. And it almost overshadows some of the other elements that I kind of liked. I liked Woody Harrelson's performance as like the other sort of like teacher smuggler to Han. Oh my God, fuck. Emilia Clarke, also known as Daenerys Targaryen. Oh, I will.
It's like they don't even hide the fact that she doesn't show up in the previous movies, so who gives a fuck about her?
It's a cock tease. She is only in this as a cock tease to Han, who, like, he has, again, his acting is one note. He has the same face throughout the entire movie, just confused, like, starkly confused, or just smirking. Mine was a bit of an evil smirk, although you could probably do an evil smirk better. That's creepy.
Okay.
But yeah,
can we talk for a second too about the comedic reliefs in this movie?
Oh God.
In the beginning, the original group of smugglers that he joins up with from the army has this little four-armed alien guy who is essentially Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Absolutely, with less charisma than him as well.
Which is surprising because I hate Rocket Raccoon.
I only like Rocket because he's voiced by Bradley Cooper.
Really annoying, but at least he dies pretty quick. Then we get a new comedic relief in the form of this feministic robot.
A worse C-3PO.
I feel like that's giving her way too much credit.
Okay, that is true. C-3PO is like the ultimate butler.
So, okay, she's upset that drones are not getting equal rights, and she is shoving this down their throats.
Shoving it up our ass.
The entire fucking movie. I wonder if they're doing that just to piss the people off who say like these movies are so overly feministic and everything.
So just to add more fuel to the fire?
Yeah, just like being like, oh, you think that's bad? Let's do this.
And regarding some of that material, we saw this with Chris's dad, and he actually did research for us, and the producer behind, or the head producer behind these Star Wars movies, her name is Kathleen Kennedy. Big shock. She's a hippie socialist, well, not socialist, she's a social justice liberal warrior that recognizably has been called out for her production choices of having just everything in the movie scream equality, like current social issues, get political. The title of the article that his dad was reading to us was called "Be Woke or Go Broke." Or be woke or be broke, or something like that.
Yep.
But why? Yeah, even when you have to use a slang term to try and describe everything, you know you're in a bad spot. But yeah, it doesn't surprise any of us at all. Rey makes a whole lot more sense now, even though I still like her. The choices behind her character are completely evident, as well as the robot in this, who's called L3, which that doesn't sound like a robot name. It's literally the name of a disc in your back. So literally, this robot is just a takeout of your spine. But she takes the spine out of the movie. She rips it out, and it all comes tumbling down.
I doubt that's what they were going for, but hey, you made it work anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I've said it before many times. I don't care if a character is male, female, black, white, red, orange, yellow, green, blue.
Fucking purple.
Yeah, I just want them to be written good. And the fact is they're not.
When you have to be blatantly obvious and complete and have to be blunt about the characters, I've said this in the past, you're not making good characters! You're just making them obvious, annoying, and whatever fucking other bad things you could say about something. Okay.
And let me just, okay, not that we recommend this movie, but hey, heavy spoiler here, I need to talk about this. There's something that happens at the end of this movie that throws the entire fucking timeline and placement out of whack.
It butchers it up worse than the Terminator franchise.
So, Han Solo's girlfriend,
Emilia Clarke.
Han leaves, takes, does his climactic thing. Long story short, she contacts Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, the person who was introduced and killed in Phantom Menace.
I assumed, now again, I just assume these movies are supposed to take place in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. That just makes the most sense to me. Rogue One obviously was that,
and that made sense.
It makes sense here too because of like where the prominence of the Empire, which didn't exist in fucking Phantom Menace.
It started off as a republic and then slowly turned into the Empire.
Yes, and also like there are stormtroopers all over the place. There are things that are very clearly supposed to invoke things that are replicated from A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, implying that it takes place in this general vicinity. So where the fuck did Darth Maul come from?
He was chopped in half on the battle station where he fought Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
He was introduced and he died in this same movie. That's supposed to take place somewhere maybe 20 years before this.
And if it was 20 years before this, then somehow either Darth Maul got somehow pixied back to life, or
and he became like a drug lord. What?
Like king of the smugglers, I guess.
It makes no sense. I potentially sequel baiting us. That's what they think they're trying to do, because it's like he's like, I'm gonna need you to work closely under me now.
And his lightsaber's changed.
Yes,
there's like a cover for the hand or wrist or whatever on the handle.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Who the fuck was thinking that?
Kathleen fucking Kennedy.
I'm sure they thought, hey, this will be great. People will love this. You don't realize a second why it makes no sense. Fuck. All right. That's really it. At this point, we would have to go scene for scene to talk about how awful this movie is. But really, I think we summed it up best. It's mostly recreations of things you've already seen from the much better Star Wars movies and done worse. It's not Han Solo like you expect. I suppose Chewie is still Chewie in this movie, but
Chewie's cool.
But obviously, he's elevated more by Han because he's the actual he's the actual talker. Nobody new in this movie is even remotely interesting, and the plot itself is practically irrelevant in the grand scheme of Han Solo himself. So overall, fuck this movie.
I didn't like this at all. Like it was a movie where for you it's Ready Player for me it's Ready Player One for you. The more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense, and the more angry I get, and the more disappointed I am that the writers and the directors of this didn't even try to take a chance at honestly striking gold. You could have actually come up with something creative. You could have added layers so easily, but you choose not to because of the marketability of it as opposed to the creative integrity of it.
That's what when I saw Rogue One, I had actually some hope to think like, wow, you could really take advantage of these one and done type side stories in the Star Wars universe and actually create something clever.
I still legitimately like Rogue One to this day.
I like too. It's my favorite one of this new series.
I would have to say that'd be tied with Force Awakens, for me at least.
Okay, well, I already gave my thoughts on that. So, but yeah, it's like nope, not at all. We are just going to we are just going to milk the good movies for as long as we can until people get sick of it, which
the box office reports for this have been relatively low.
At least low for Star Wars. Not low in general. I mean, it's still making money hand over fist, but it's not like Infinity War. It's not Last Jedi. And what's funny too is that in that article that my dad read to us for the research with what's her name,
Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy. He talked about how some people think that it's Star Wars fatigue. No, it doesn't. That doesn't exist. Us Americans, we like predictability. We want things to stay the same. If anything, it's because these movies are changing so much and getting worse. That's why we are so apt to follow it. And he brings up even the fact that Infinity War was released only 5 weeks after Black Panther and still is one of the highest grossing movies of all time. And it's like, you know what? You're probably right. God, I think one Star Wars movie a year is too much, in my opinion.
When you try and have one 5 months released after one that you build hype for, it's gonna die. The hype is gonna die at some point.
It's basic logic. The less time you have to work on something, the less quality it's going to be. Quality takes time. So,
but time is money, and Disney is money.
I know. We're going from these being yearly films to probably going the Marvel route and going to make them multiple movies a year, and expect them to be worse and worse with each installment.
The only saving grace for me in this was I thought the action scenes were actually pretty decent at best. The train scene that they have in the near opening was fine for me. The big event that they try and hype in this is the Millennium Falcon's famous Kessel Run,
Something like that. Something weird.
Yeah, it's the Kessel Run.
Yeah.
But yeah, they try and put weight to that, which was, again, the execution was so unimpressive. And they tell you so much. They just tell you as opposed to having you feel it.
Yeah. And of course we have to go follow this new age philosophy of it's never a wrong time for a joke. It's never a bad time for a quip. So let's just put as many of them in there as we can and make sure you don't feel any tension at all from what should obviously be a tense situation.
If only someone made a sketch where they took Solo, Captain America, Tony Stark, and Thor and literally had them as just like mannequin dolls, and the directors are showing the models to these writers and they're describing them. Okay, so this person is da 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 da. Okay, I need you to shove 10 quips up the ass so that we have 10 different lines of jokes by the end of today's shoots. Ready? And they literally just have like a pile of words and just shove them in their ass so that they're ready to spew them out of their mouth.
Yep.
Someone creative, get to that. But yeah, other than that, can't recommend this. I honestly can't. This is worse than Last Jedi.
Yeah, like I said, Last Jedi was a dumpster fire, but it had identity of its own.
And it actually did try to add to the Star Wars mythos. Granted, this isn't the Star Wars mythos. This is Solo. But then again, you could have at least added something. You could have, but you fucking didn't. You fucked the pooch. You shat the bed. And you just fucked yourself. When does episode 9 come out?
Doesn't it come out the end of this year?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
3
movies in the span of 12 months. How do you like that?
Well, guess we'll see how that turns out. I don't know what the next movie we're gonna see is, though.
Yeah, it's summer. Summer's a wild time.
It's hot.
But it makes us sexy.
Ew.
Alright, I need to take a shower.
I need to go home.
You need to join me in the shower. Oh wait, couldn't we have done it one at a time?
So funny, right?
Covered in mud.
Chewie and Han showering together.
Someone's gonna make fan art about that at some point.
Oh yeah. Oh man, it's so hard to find it under all this hair.
Wait, how am I supposed to get at it?
We'll see you guys.
Later.